Sorry about that, guys. I was clearly talking, and I was on mute. My name is Russ Clough, and if you're not familiar with me, I am from The Variable Podcast. If you are a follower of my good friend Rex Allen, I'm excited to have him joining me today. Folks who are following me, if you don't know who he is, you should definitely get to know him. He's awesome and clearly doing a little bit better about audio and so forth than I'm doing. I'm like muting. Hello, everybody. Blah, 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 blah.
We had this like whole thing planned. Like Shane was going to start off, and I was going to sweep in, and I was
You're
like,
just gonna sweep
I
in,
can't
like,
hear him.
What the
but
heck
I don't
is
know
Russ
if
doing?
I don't know for certain that you can't hear him. So we're just going to roll with it.
Well, yeah. So everybody out there who's tuning in, Russ Clough from The Variable, welcome back. And if you guys are following Rex, I'm excited to get to know all of you guys as we do today's creative design dab.
Yeah,
Rex,
so
what do we got
like
planned,
Shane
buddy?
said, yeah, I'm Rex Allen, and we have spent the last hour and 45 minutes messing with my audio settings because I have been trying so desperately to sound as good as Russ does.
Russ.
So I don't think I'm all the way there, but we definitely got a little bit better. So the tech stack of products that are bringing you this episode is very deep. But we're stoked to be here. Like Russ mentioned, I'm Rex. I founded a creative agency called Stoke. So that's kind of what I do is branding and content creation and video and photo. So kind of jazzed to be here. And, you know, Russ and I actually met. How long ago did we meet? A week? We're a week in now.
A week or two. Yeah, we just like met and we said, dude, we got to collaborate and get some stuff rolling because we both make content. And we're like, let's do it. Let's do it. So
you just meet people, and sometimes you're like, that guy's gonna be my friend. I just know it. So we're like, we might as well just go for it and start I don't know, not start a podcast because you already do stuff on The Variable. I already do stuff.
Have a podcast.
But like, I don't know. I haven't done anything for a while, so I'm excited to get rolling again and have something
this is
semi-regular to talk about.
Right. Well, and we've got a good thing going here. You've got the setup and you've done a lot of content creation. So I'm excited for this collaboration, guys. To give you a little bit of context who I am, yes, Russ Clough. I studied industrial design, Arizona State University. I like to sport my my swag from my alma mater.
We're Pac-12 boys.
Yeah. And so Arizona State, studied industrial design. And somebody, Danny Marsh, asked out in the peanut gallery there, is it the pod mic? Yes, I am using the pod mic. Anyhow, I digress. Studied industrial design, and I now am the host of The Variable Podcast and CEO, president of The Variable Design, where we do a lot of crossover to what you do, Rex, when it comes to content creation, 3D visualization, but then also we like to get our hands dirty and do some prototyping, sketch ideation. If you guys are tuning in on LinkedIn and we aren't connected, get on over there and hit a connection request. I'd love to network with all of you guys. And yeah, man, we got some cool stuff going on.
You gotta search for Russell Clough over there on the LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
He's hoity-toity fancy over on the LinkedIn, but you know,
on the LinkedIn, I am Russell.
Russell.
You know, if my wife, you know, that's what's funny is people ask me like, does anybody call you Russell? And I'm like sometimes my wife calls me Russell, like when I'm in trouble. But every other opportunity, every other situation, I'm just Russ. So call me Russ. You're good, guys.
Yeah. Naming is an interesting thing. So, I mean, everybody that actually knows me knows that my last name isn't actually Allen. So
really,
you know, kind of a fun fact there, but my last name is Reiblin. It's like really hard to say. Yeah. Reiblin. So it's like it's French German. And it used to be spelled in a way that you could see it and get pretty close to pronouncing it correctly, like when the Reiblins first came over. But they have since kind of changed it, and like nobody gets it right. And it just like you see it and it makes you feel awkward. So yeah, Rex Allen. Allen's my middle name. People have called me Rex Allen, you know, occasionally because like Rex Allen is a famous cowboy, country western singer from back in the day. So people that knew my middle name was Allen often would call me Rex Allen. So decided to kind of run with that for the personal brand because it makes you feel less awkward when you first meet me. You're like, sure. How do you say that? Is it Riblin? I don't know.
Just so Allen. Yeah. Allen works.
Rex Allen. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, now we've got our introductions in. We do have some cool stuff put together for you as we're going to get into doing this kind of a semi-regular stream. Our goal here is to, and really the lifelong mission of the Variable has been to connect with people, to provide mentorship. The Variable is... our slogan is "We are the Variable." Our goal is to be the good in the community, especially the design community. I know that I can honestly say that there's no way I could have gotten where I'm at today in my career without the help of good mentors to take me under their wing. If you guys are tuning in and you're out there, my challenge for all of you today is to see in some way, shape, or form, how can you be a mentor to somebody else and help them along in their career? If you look over at the cubicle or virtually across the screen and you see, oh man, like this guy could use a pick-me-up, be that good, be the good in the community. So awesome stuff that we've got planned for today. If you guys aren't familiar with the designer Russell Beard, I hope I got that right. Yeah, Russell Beard. He's got a fantastic first name, but if you guys aren't familiar with him on LinkedIn, you designers, go connect with him because he puts out content regularly that is just super juicy, super good. And we're going to use some of the prompts from some articles that he wrote, and we're going to riff on them, share some of our tidbits of info and suggestions on how you guys can step up your game. So the one, we'll be sure to update everything and throw some links down in there. I don't know, Rex, if you're able to do that live right now and share it with him, but we're looking at, he wrote an article.
I think I can.
You can? Wonderful.
So I can post them from, oh yeah, Warren West says production value is primo. That's what we're going
for. Good. We got over that little hiccup.
I need to go change that light to be blue, and then we can have like this blue all across the background.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All good. I know is Chris Doe did a live not too long ago, and like he not once, not twice, 3 times like restarted his spiel because the audio was just messing up.
I did see that, and it made me feel good because I'm like, yes, wow, if Chris Doe can screw it up, then the funny thing is, like, you could tell that he was like super low key, like very mad at like whoever his like production guy was.
Like, dude,
that like he probably got fired like right after that, you know. But like he was trying to play it off like he was cool, but like you could tell that he was like super mad about it.
The mic goes off and he just throws the table.
Yeah, camera lights off, and all of a sudden you just hear like crashing and stuff. So
tens of thousands of dollars of equipment being thrown across there. Anyhow, so if he can do it, I think we can squeak by with a little bit of leeway when our audio isn't quite right. So to kick things off, when we're talking, and we shared the links for you guys to check out, we're riffing on lessons from failure, part 1. And I don't know, when I was sharing this article with you immediately, Rex, you were like, oh man, and you like failures came to mind. Like, why don't you like go ahead, tell us what came to mind? What's your big failure that you're like, okay, let me spit some wisdom right here with you guys when it comes to my oopses and how you can do better than me. I'll share some as well. We'll read a little bit from what Russell Beard shared, and yeah, we'll go from there, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, so failures are often in our society looked at, like they're bad, like you should avoid them at all costs.
Sure.
And I definitely agree. You don't have to just run around seeking failure. But I think what we need to remember is that failure is okay as long as we can internalize it and learn from it, right? So I moved out to Missouri for this new job. I was all stoked to be the senior design engineer, whatever you want to call it, right? And like 4 months in, walk in, my boss is like, hey, can you come talk to me? And like, why don't you like bring all your stuff with you too?
Like the crap has officially hit the fan.
And he's like, yeah, we're actually not going to go in my office. We're going to like go outside security. And I was like, okay, something's happening, And it's like, walks me into this room and like, you're fired. Cool. For what? Got no answer, so like somehow on my part, huge failure, right? Whether that was a failure to conform to corporate America, going back to kind of a larger company, or failure to, I don't even know, do a good job. I
Don't
don't
know.
think it was that, because all I ever heard was, you're doing a great job, right? So must have done something to tick off the wrong person, but like had a failure. And that kind of experience launched me into kind of creating Stoke. So for the next year and a
Okay.
half, I went back and worked for the company that I had quit, because I'm such a terrible person that they wouldn't hire me back, right? So they hired me back. I worked
Okay.
remote for a year and a half, kind of building Stoke on the side, got to a point where I was ready and launched off and started Stoke. So getting fired, certainly very difficult and hard and not cool, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
realized that I had to change something so that that would never happen again. And that's kind of what led me to launch my own creative agency and kind of take destiny into my own hands and start my own company. So, I've been doing it for about a year now, and it's certainly not without its own ups and downs.
Sure.
But the downs don't go from full engineering salary to zero income overnight, So
Yeah. That's
there's
good.
definitely some good things that come from running your own business and kind of being your own show. So yeah, definitely have had some career failures that I think I've turned into wins.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. Well,
Hopefully.
I like to punctuate all of those little micro TED Talks, those little things with a therefore what statement. So for everybody who's tuning in, I want, can you then say, all right, well, I had this failure, this kind of a situation. It's led to this positive silver lining and so forth. What's your therefore what thing that you'd say for everybody out there to learn? If you're going to learn from my mistake and what I've been through, this is what you should do.
Yeah, so there's actually been some conversation happening just the other day. So a guy that I'm connected with on LinkedIn, I don't personally know him, but posted about losing his job. Same thing, walks into work
Uh-huh.
one day, everything's great,
You're
and then
out.
all of a sudden he's fired, and he's just like, what the crap, right? And his whole post was just kind of about realizing that he needs to take that control, onto
Sure.
himself and not really rely on external forces that you have no influence over and no control over to kind of hoard and lord over your income and subsequently pretty much your whole life. So for me, what I would recommend is, before something drastic happens, to start taking control of your own finances and your own
Mm,
income to a point where you're not solely reliant on your employer, your full-time employer, for your financial freedom. And depending on how much effort you want to put into that, you can grow whatever you're doing not as an employee. You can grow it to where that eclipses the work or the income that you make as an employee, and then you can kind of make that shift of, do I stay an employee and keep this stuff on the side, or do I quit my full-time employment and do my formerly side stuff on a full-time basis?
yeah.
So my recommendation for anybody that's an employee, to just really focus on your personal branding, so that you have your own leg to stand on that's not just tied to your company, and then start to figure out ways to build some income or some passive income or side income or whatever. Utilize your skills in a way that makes you less dependent on your full-time employment.
I like that. And I would add on to that. Yes, I think that there is wisdom in doing everything and anything you can to be self-reliant, to be able to have some other options in the back. And then all I got to say is, if you've worked, because I'm listening to your advice and I think, oh man, I agree. There's definitely been times though that I've worked for certain small companies that would take such big issue with me doing side things. They'd
Mhm.
find out, whoa, you can't be doing that stuff. We own you, pretty they try and put it in better corporate terms, than that. But my one thought is, if you're working at a place that doesn't give you and allow you the freedom to be able to do things on the side to put bread on the table for your family and so forth, if needs be, then you need to get the heck out of there and you need to find a company that allows you to have some of that freedom. Now, granted, I don't think that we should do anything that's directly a conflict of interest. You got to be careful, if you don't poach clients or something like that. But I think there's wisdom in, like you
Yeah.
said, having a collection of contacts and constantly network and build your brand identity for yourself. Like nobody can fault you for continually posting content on social channels, LinkedIn and so forth, and connecting with people so that you always kind of have some little network to fall back on should the crap hit the fan. You know, I think there's wisdom in that, and nobody can be like, that's a conflict of interest and that's against company policy. Now, like if you work for a place that says that, then like get out of there already. But then,
get out.
And
that's a really interesting topic, kind of talking about, you know, corporate oversight of what you do, not on
the
corporate
clock
hours, you know, not on the clock, right? I've seen that come up a lot, right? Where companies are trying to actually not allow their employees to even post on LinkedIn or anything.
Oh,
you know? And it's like you got to get out of cultures like that, or, you know, work internally to help leadership understand why that's not good. You know, like employees being active on LinkedIn is a huge asset for your brand. The more active your employees are, that's more eyeballs that are seeing those employees and then associating their hopefully good content with your brand. So if you're if you're watching this and you're in management of a company, or you have, you know, that influential role and you're like, no, our employees should not be on social media. They should not be talking about their interests or whatever. Like you need to like erase that from your mind and rethink that and figure out how to build, you know, evangelist programs or something to where you're empowering your people to be active on social media, because that reflects positively on your brand.
Dude, I did hear what you're saying, and I agree, and I echo that 100%. This comment that just came in, Joshua Nolette. That was like the freaking hilarious, dude. We get a 2-for-1 deal on those frames. Going on right now, guys, over at what's a
1-800-contacts.
1-800 go glasses.
I've got a couple buddies
like
that work for 1-800-contacts. They're like kind of big wigs over there, and they used to own glasses.com. And have since kind of parted ways with that brand. But yeah, that's hilarious.
We both have good taste, okay?
Yeah, I mean, flat brim hats, glasses, headphones, black shirts. I mean, we totally planned this.
Just look at these faces, guys. Just look at these faces. Love the comment. Failure is a gateway to success. It's a learning thing. Yeah, definitely. So to kind of go off of your experience then, Rex, I've been in similar shoes before where I found myself without a job. I remember I had just relocated actually to this house. I relocated to this house and the owner helped me move in. And just a few months later, he called me the day before Thanksgiving and he said, "Hey, Russ, I just got to let you know, like, we're cutting you loose." Like, what? Okay. And that was the origin stories of the variable where I was able to then take, you know, so if I'm going to say therefore what statements and lessons of life learned and whatnot, echoing exactly what you said there. So I can definitely attest to the value of networking, to the value of putting yourself out there and then having a backup plan. And then I'd say being able to think quickly on your feet. So it's kind of a cyclical thing. Creatives, we can be in demand and be doing great and thriving at a certain company, and suddenly they might decide to pull the plug on the creative department and shift in a different direction. I mean, it's nice to have a quote unquote steady job, but the reality of it is there's really not a steady job out there. There's always a possibility that tomorrow they decide that they're going to pull the plug on your position and they're going to put it for somebody else. So having something in your back pocket is certainly great. And for me, I knew that I was a loquacious chatterbox. I knew that I liked talking with people, and so I started a podcast. I started the Variable Podcast, but then I also knew that I wanted to give back. And so the whole hope and dream of starting the podcast was so that we could. I used it as a tool. So here's a little takeaway for you guys, and I know that it might not necessarily be something that you're gonna all do. I wouldn't say cookie cutter. Here's the formula for being able to start something up that can be successful for you if you got laid off or whatever. But this is what ended up working for me, and I think there's some principles here. First thing I did is I realized that it was vital for me to be connecting with people. And I used a podcast as a means by which I could then have a reasonably good excuse to be connecting with people. And it's not that like you can just call somebody and say, hey, I'd like to meet you for coffee over at the Starbucks and this and that. And that's an excuse. And there's going to be people that are nice and they'll say, well, sure, I'd love to help you out and let's talk design. I almost went Minnesota right there. Why, sure, you can do it. Why, I'll get a Coke.
Oh, sure. Okay, Hoser.
Sure, I'll do that for you. And
oh, don't you know?
Don't you know? Oh, man. I am in the Twin Cities, guys. I'm allowed to say that. Okay. No. Anyhow, so let's meet for a coffee. There's going to be some people that are going to say, sure. And they'll be more than happy to help. But there's a difference between that and then somehow being able to say, hey, I am the host of XYZ podcast. We're featuring specific studios and we want to talk design. And we'd love to have you and your company featured on the show. Are you willing to meet and talk with me over a Zoom call for 45 minutes or an hour within the next couple weeks? Suddenly, they're like flattered and they're excited to participate and do that. And what's also nice is it takes the sting out of no. When you've disassociated, they're not saying no to me. They're saying no, that this is an opportunity they aren't really quite ready for or something like that. And by doing that, I started networking and connecting with lots of people. And that was the goal. It wasn't to make money. If you're thinking you could start a podcast and in 2 weeks start monetizing, I mean, maybe it's possible, but I don't think so. But the second thing it established a regular cadence where I needed to connect with somebody. Because what happens is when you start doing business and you're doing freelance work, you start getting loaded down. And as soon as you start getting loaded down, you're focused on fulfillment. And when you're focused on fulfillment, that's great, but then suddenly business development drops off your radar. And then what happens when you finish all of your clients' work? Then you've hit rock bottom again.
Riding that roller coaster.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's a way, I remember my mentor, Blake Johnson, told me, if there's a way you can prioritize connecting with people and networking and keeping that flow steady, that's just going to help you in the long run. So that's why I started a podcast. I started connecting with people. And not only that, it was my mission. I really wanted to try and make people's journey a little bit smoother and easier than mine. I wouldn't say that my introduction into industrial design was cookie cutter by any stretch of the imagination. When I first started, I was already in college. I was married and I had a kid on the way. And my first son was born right when I was submitting for milestone to get into the program. And so while everybody else was playing beer pong and partying, I was like wiping butts and cleaning up spit up and working 2 jobs and just trying to make it. And so that was hard for me because I wasn't able to then connect with IDSA, to attend all of these different club meetings and network with people. And so since then, I guess my other takeaway from that experience would also be that, like, yeah, you could take lemons and make lemonade out of it. I wasn't going and doing cool internships at these prestigious places. Instead, I was working screen printing at a local shop. But then I got really, really good at Illustrator. And then I did motion graphics for an ad agency and got into 3D visualization. And now that's like a core part of everything that I do with the variable as well. When I'm working for clients, we do product solutions for them. We'll do sketch ideation and modeling and all of that cool stuff. But then at the same time, we're like, okay, well, and we collaborate with awesome brands like yours. And we say, like, hey, let's not only do that, but let's take it a step further and let's create a brand for you guys. Let's put a package together. What does that visual identity for your packaging look like? What are your campaigns going to look like? And then you get like this whole holistic approach. And what's nice is, like, I'm because I talk with people all the time, I'm now super connected and I can say, well, if I can't do it, I know Rex can do it, or I know that this other person can do it. So anyhow,
I mean, we just had a project like that, so we actually met because Russ was talking about, for some reason, I always want to call you Shane. I have no idea why.
Just call me Shane, dude. No,
okay. I actually do know why. So when I moved to Missouri, like, my cube mate was named Shane, and his personality was like so similar to yours.
Does he have glasses like ours?
Like, he honestly, like, he looks exactly like you. Like, he looks a lot like you. Oh man,
we need to get him on the show.
He had, like, tight haircut on the sides, but like totally like in industrial design guy. Like,
That's
I think
funny.
that's why I keep wanting to call you Shane. So if you hear me like mess up and call you Shane, like that's why, because like he and I were like best buds, and then he ended up quitting because of toxic culture and lots of other stuff, and moved out to California. So he's gone. So you're my Shane replacement.
I'm now I'm the new Shane. Everybody,
you're Shane 2.0.
Is.
Yeah. So kind of funny there, but I actually don't remember where I was going there. What were we talking about just now?
Well, I was just talking about
like a side tangent eclipses what you're actually talking about. It's like, gosh, dang it! It was going to be such a good idea too.
Well, we were talking about setbacks, failures, and circumstances that made it tough for us early on. You know, for me, getting in school and graduating, and I didn't have the ID background that some of the other people did with different internships and stuff. But how that ended up turning out to be a really positive thing, because here's one thing that you can. We just had a recent design discussion on Clubhouse just this last week, and we talked about the value of working at one big agency, one big firm, Nike, you know, some big brand, versus working at consultancies, or even like being a little more nomadic and bouncing around between firms. If you stick around with just one firm for a really long time, you are going to be, in a sense, kind of pigeonholed at what your skill sets are and what you do. The guys that work for Ford, there's a guy who designs tire tread, and that's all he does. There's a guy who does the handles, and that's all he does. But then if you kind of work at a consultancy and you bounce around, so there's a silver lining to that. And so I would say that my experiences of what would have seemed like a setback initially ended up being helpful, in the sense that now I'm able to be more of a jack of all trades, put on my multiple hats, and service clients in a way that's helpful in a number of different respects, as opposed to, I'm just a sketch junkie. This is all I can do for you.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? And I think that
I
makes
think
people
it's
almost more valuable, right?
Yeah, I think it's really good to be well-rounded, but then also be good at a couple things, right? So that you can kind of be known for something, right? Because I can do a lot of things, right? But like, I'm not trying to also say that I'm a carpenter and a metal fabricator and this or that, you know, like I have pretty wide skills in the design space and in the creative space, you know, do branding and content and videos and photos and kind of all of that stuff for brands. But at the same time, I'm not, you know, I've kind of left the product engineering stuff behind. I mean, I was a product engineer for 13 years. And certainly I can still do that. And people that know that I can do that reach out for me and say, hey, can you help us with this? And I say, yes. But like, as far as like the core offering in my business, like I'm not putting anything about product development or product design in Stoke's branding or what Stoke puts out in the world, you know? But it was interesting. I remembered what I was going to say when I got flubbed up last time. But
he's ready, guys.
I mean, we met because I made a job posting at Stoke, right? I'm like, Stoke is hiring for a creative designer. Somebody that both me and Russ are connected with said, Rex, you need to meet this guy, Russ. I think he can probably help you out. So we jumped on a call and had, you know, the blossoming buddings of a great friendship. But like, it was like, no, Russ is like too busy doing his own thing. He's gonna go sell out and work for, you know, for some cool media production company. Doesn't have time to come, you know, dabble down with Stoke. But we got to know each other and got to know each other's capabilities, right? And then I had a call with a client that was like, hey, we need this thing. We need somebody that's really, really good at UI and UX. I'm like, I mean, I'm good at that. I can wing it, but I've never done like a UI UX specific project. So what do? I think, self. I know a couple guys, but like Russ is a baller. I just met him. Like, let's kick this thing off, right? So I text Russ. I'm like, hey, dude, you ever do UI UX? And you're like, yeah. I was like, you want to jump on a client call with me tomorrow at 5 p.m.? And you're like, yeah. You know, so like we jumped on a call. I mean, I think it went really good. I mean, it's kind of a former client, so we already kind of like have the job. But, you know, kind of. It's good to have those people in your network that you can bring in and kind of project as a larger organization than a one-man band, you know, because my goal is not to keep Stoke as just me, right? Like I'm actively trying to hire someone right now. You know, I've got a couple good candidates and I'm stoked to kind of be on that first step of growing the company. But even then, it's nice to have some of those specialists out there that can help you kind of fulfill those niche needs when a client comes in and says, hey, we need this one thing and it's got to be really good. It's nice to have those guys that you can pull into.
Yeah, which is kind of a lesson in and of itself for you guys. So if I'm gonna like takeaways, a variable for you to put in your back pocket is like connecting with people, um, and you're planting seeds. Often, I feel like I don't know about you, but I get like inundated with like connection requests on LinkedIn where it's like they're gonna hit you hard with a direct sell, like, hey, man, like, can you do this and that, blah blah. We can service this for you. Like, I don't know, when they go straight for the jugular and they're trying to like get me to do to hire them to do something. And really, I found that if I just make it my priority to help and be helpful for people, then the opportunities present themselves and the work will present itself. I invite them to participate. I do what I can to help them out in a small respect. And then later on, you're forefront of their mind when they're like, hey, we need somebody to do this. I happen to have just been in touch with Russ not that long ago. And then suddenly you're being considered. And then the other thing that I'll say that's a good thing for y'all to keep in mind is if you're like rock bottom right now, like what does it take? How long does it take for you to bounce back and not be hurting so bad anymore? My folks would like say, when I was younger and I was dating and other people I've known that are dating, how long is it to go from alone and single and moody to now in a relationship and ecstatic and just puppy love overnight? Like you could be entirely unemployed with no leads, and then suddenly you get a few calls, and then you're swamped. So
yeah, and the same thing happens. Yeah, the same thing happens. I think in any aspect of life, right? You're down. You're like, I'm never gonna date again. I'm never gonna meet the right person. You might go 6 months like that. You're like, I'm totally over it, and then all of a sudden you like meet this awesome chick, and you're like, I'm in love. Right, it's the same with work. Like. Certainly when I got fired, like I didn't have a game plan in mind, right? So I was like, well, freak, what am I going to do now? Like, I don't know, right? So I'm
gonna
like,
roll with it.
Step one, like next day I was like, all right, I'm just going to like do my own thing. So, started a business the next day, but like had no clients, no nothing, right? So I call up Aaron Davidson from Gunworks, the company that I had quit. And I was like, hey dude, you'll never guess what happened. And he's like, what? I got fired. He's like, no. And I was like, so I started a company and like, I think, just this is what I'm kind of thinking. I was wondering if you'd like to be my first client. And he goes, no, you're hired back tomorrow, full time. We have all this stuff to do and you're going to do it, so I think the big takeaway from that is like, you're only one phone call away from your life changing forever. And you have to make those phone calls because nobody's going to call you, right?
Nobody's going to do it for you.
Nobody knows who you are, right? So unless you're active on social media, my jam is LinkedIn. So unless you're active on LinkedIn, people don't know who the heck you are and they don't care, right? So you have to tell them who you are and you have to tell them why to care. And the more you do that, the more people start coming out of the woodworks and reaching out to you. Like this last week, I've probably had 6 people that are like, hey dude, you're a branding goat. Like, let's talk. Hey dude, I saw this and that. I messaged a guy that like I was connected with, but didn't really know him. And I saw that he had liked my post. It was the first time that I've ever seen him like a post or anything. So I was just like, hey dude, tell me about Factor. And his message back, it's not like, oh yeah, Factor, blah, blah, blah. It's, dude, I've been following your LinkedIn for a long time. It's super awesome. We love it. We want to meet and talk about how we can work together. It's like freaking mind blown, right? Dude, but if you don't outreach, then you're never gonna, if you're not doing anything proactively, then those leads just don't come to you.
Yes. Oh, and then that's kind of another thing that I want to drive point that I want to drive home is the fact that you are never going to have an accurate picture of your reach. Because if you're trying to look at likes, if you're trying to look at analytics numbers and so on and so forth, that's going to give you a peak, but it's like a fraction of the truth. Because what does it really take for somebody to actually, you'd think it would be easy. Oh, what does it take to like and click? I mean, like, how hard is it to get people to go down and subscribe? Like, that's a big thing. And so when you have a significant,
that's a huge point though, to go like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, here, make me go live. I was going to say go full screen. It's going to cut me off. No, it actually didn't cut me
That's
off. There
good
you go.
enough.
Everybody,
Yeah.
go hit downstairs. Go down below and hit the subscribe button and support the channel. We got lots of good stuff coming ahead, and we're excited for this collaboration that we're doing. If you follow me already, then head on over to Rex. What's your channel called? The It's not
Oh
Rex
gosh.
Allen.
Which one, on
Rex Allen
YouTube?
Creative. Yeah.
On YouTube, it's just Rex Allen, dude.
Rex
That's
Allen. Go
it.
find Rex Allen and go
Yep.
follow him. And if you haven't followed the variable yet, then like get your butt over there and subscribe, guys, because we need you. It's a community we're building.
Shane's content, Russ's content is better than mine. So jump over to his channel and subscribe. You don't need to go subscribe to my channel.
Which way do I point?
No, his channel.
Okay, I digress. Anyhow, so we started off this whole thing because I said, hey, there's this awesome article that talks about failure, and the guy, Russell Beard, walks through his experience taking a product from start to finish. I don't know that with the time that we've set aside for this, we're going to hit through all the points. But I encourage you guys. We've stuck it in the comments. Go and check it out. Here it is again. Appreciate you doing that for me, Rex. He's awesome.
Got you.
He's super. What's funny is I reached out to some of these people and say, hey, can we feature you on the show? I want you to spotlight and talk. And he's like, I'm more of a writer than I am a speaker. And so he's super down to earth, but a total baller. He talks about the experience that he had taking a product from start to finish. And one of the things that they were designing was, I mean, he's done a number of projects, but he was designing a phone case. And the very first point that he makes in this article is ensure that your idea can withstand time slip. So I bring this up because I know that there's a bunch of you creatives out there who are thinking to yourself like, oh man, all I got to do is like get my idea put together and get it made and manufactured, and I'm going to be able to jump out on my own and start my own thing. Now, I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I just want to cast a very realistic light on the realities of what that's going to take. And that's why I think these articles that we're sharing with you are great, because he says, all right, well, like first and foremost, pump the brakes and really let's think about this. And the mistake that they made, the very first one, was like, ensure that your idea can withstand time slip. A product like a phone case. Now, granted, this was earlier on in the iPhone era, but even so, what is the rate that we're just spitting out new electronic devices? Like all the freaking time there's a new one. And so just without even going into deep detail, and I can say the same thing. If you're thinking about a consumer electronic product, the hard thing about doing any kind of design in that sphere is that you have to be like so fast. It has to be a flash in the fire, to be able to make it, produce it, launch it. And then by the time that it's got done with manufacturing, there's already a new iPhone that came out. And so that was kind of one of his main takeaways. I personally haven't worked on it. Have you ever worked on any kind of like a consumer electronic product that, where you had to like
I worked
for balls to the walls, go fast and get it done so that it wouldn't
so I've worked
obsolete?
on pretty much 2 failed consumer electronic products.
Really? Enlighten us on those failures,
so
man.
When I worked at Silencer Co., a very famous manufacturer of firearm silencers, right? So very well known in that space, great products, great brand, actually really awesome brand. Probably the coolest one in the industry, or one of the cooler ones. Ton of video work, ton of brand work, right? So a ton of brand equity in this silencer brand. We branched off with this kind of consumer electronics division, right? We called it Silencer Co. Weapons Research, even though the main company made the weapon stuff and that company made electronic accessories, but whatever. So we call it SWR, Silencer Co. Weapons Research. And the first product that we brought to market was a rangefinder that you can mount to your rifle. So that's valuable because it can tell you how far away, whatever you're looking at, so that you can, accommodate for the distance and dial elevation and hit your target, right? So whatever. But it's a consumer electronics product, and it was cool. It was kind of one of a kind, in a consumer price. So the military makes a similar product. It's like 10 grand or something. Like normal people don't buy it, right? So we made this product, and it was really cool, but like, it just didn't fit the brand, right? The brand was all about firearms and silencers and education about silencers and all of that kind of stuff. And then we come out with this like electronics product that has nothing to do with silencers, nothing to do with our brand. It was cool. It worked pretty well. You know, it had a few kinks, but like it just didn't fit the brand that great, right? So ultimately, like that whole division just got trash canned. And like we had a bunch of units in stock that we were going to use to, you know, customer service replacements or whatever. But like ultimately, like they just trash canned that whole division. And they're like, look, we just are going to stick to our main core business and continue to make and innovate with silencers, you know? So that was kind of the first one that was like a failure just because it was like a brand and market disconnect, right? Like they just weren't connected and it didn't make sense, right? So had a different company brought that product to market that it kind of fit with their brand and with their existing customers, I think it would have been a great success, you know? So that was one. And then talking about like speed and efficiency. So when I worked at Gunworks, we had this little handheld device, and it's kind of nuanced what it's for, right? But it's essentially kind of like a cell phone, but it has like environmental capabilities all on the device. And that's applicable for long range shooting. And it had a ballistic calculator and a wind meter and all sorts of stuff, right? In this little device. And we launched it. We leaked photos of it. I did. I got permission to leak photos of it.
Okay.
Right?
I was gonna like, I think we figured out why you got fired.
No, I didn't get fired from
That's
this
a different company.
Different company that I leaked information from. So I got permission to leak photos. I leaked them. They ended up on Sniper Side, you know, a very popular website for long range shooting. People were all excited, and it was supposed to come out like 3 months after the photo leaked, right? We're 3 years later and it's still not out, right? And it's a consumer electronics product that we had partnered with like a real cell phone manufacturer overseas to make it for us, right? And it just ended up this like huge cluster of a product. So everybody's mad now because it's still not out in the market, and people who wanted that type of device were kind of waiting for it, and other similar devices have since come out. And they're like, but that one's cooler. I want yours and not this one. But like ours still isn't on the market and probably
still isn't on the market
ever. I don't know.
So, lesson learned. I'm not going to say don't do consumer electronic products. Like if you're going to bootstrap something, just be wary of it. You know, just know what it's going to take. You're going to have a ton of money up front ready to do that. And so your story, kind of segues into mine as well when you were talking about expectations, and it just reminds me of people who do crowdfunding, and specifically when it's like, hey, we want to make this product and we've backed it, and how come it still hasn't come to fruition? Like there's a lot of those stories where people like, oh, they bit off more than they could chew. They assumed that it would only take this budget. You know, other points from Russell Beard's article is it'll always take longer. That was a big bullet point on his article. So that one, it will always take longer. People will steal your ideas and don't bother protecting your idea. So he's talking about IP and stuff, and I won't necessarily get deep into the weeds on those, but there's a large amount of takeaways that you can get from those specific points in his article. But what I'm going to pivot on is share from my experience. I did a Kickstarter campaign, and so you talk about failures. I wouldn't call it a complete and utter failure because we actually did get funded all the way. And was it completely enough for everything? Like, yeah, we got funded, but was it enough to cover everything? Almost.
So what did you do at that point? Did you have to get more funding?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I designed. I designed and developed a card game called This Game Is Nuts. And you guys are more than welcome to go look up on Kickstarter. For a while there, I had a website that was open and whatnot, but the domain is since lapsed. But it's on Kickstarter still. You can watch the campaign video. We animated it, and it was great. We were able to do it, and lots of things that we learned from it. But when it came out to the other end of it, when it came down to selling it, well, first off, we got funded. It wasn't quite enough. Family and friends bought enough product early. They contributed a little bit extra, and I put in a little extra money, and we were able to get it over the finish line, because what ended up happening is I got all the product manufactured and stuff, but people wanted some deluxe boxes, and that had to be laser cut and the wood had to be sourced, and it ended up costing a bit more than I anticipated. And then what's also hard is you didn't know how many deluxe boxes would be purchased. It ended up being more like that was the popular thing. I thought that the base price one, it was more like the red herring, where we'd like dangle the carrot in front of people and say, hey, here's this base product for only like $20. And then here's this $50 one. People just blew straight through the $20 one and went for the $50 one, which meant that I had to manufacture something that was more expensive than I anticipated. Anyhow, we got funded. We manufactured them all. And when it came down to it, it was just about sales. The kind of product. So here's another takeaway for all of you guys. The kind of product that a game has. How do I put it? It takes a special person to just buy a game without having already played it. It's the kind of a person who goes into the grocery store, or I was going to say the grocery store, like I guess they in Walmart and Target, they have, movie sections. So go in the back and looks at movies and without even like having seen it in the movie theater before says, you know what, that looks cool, I'll buy it. Like that's a special kind of person. Do you do that, Rex? Do you just buy movies?
No.
No,
I mean, I haven't bought my movie's a bad example because I haven't bought a movie in forever because I just stream everything.
Because you just stream it now. That's the world we live in. But I guess.
But like, say streaming was gone, right? And like I had seen an ad for the new James Bond movie, and the only way to watch it was to buy it. I'd go buy it.
Well, you'd go buy it because you already know that you like
it's
James
like
Bond.
the 100th installment of James Bond, right? But if
if it were like some brand new knockoff
Avatar, I'd have been like, nah, it sounds weird.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't do it. And so similarly with the product that I developed, it was a game. And once people played it, they loved it. But the problem is like you have to get over that hurdle of education and word of mouth and push it a lot to get product to move. So we funded, it was out there, and I guess it'd be considered a failure. A win in the part that we made it, or we reached that goal, but failure in the sense that my basement now has a closet full of games, full of copies of This Game Is Nuts. So maybe we'll do like some kind of giveaway or something, something like that. And like, if you guys want to pay for shipping, like let me know.
Let's turn it into a brand. Like, let's make it happen. Let's market it and like
get it out there. And
I mean,
so This Game Is Nuts.
I feel like that product is like a perfect. Blah, blah, blah. I feel like This Game Is Nuts is the perfect product for like a guerrilla marketing campaign, right? Like, drive around to like a whole bunch of like, pick the right demographic for the game, right? Drive around that neighborhood and just like leave some on the porch with like a little card that says, for your friends that love this, here's a link to go, whatever, right? And like you give away 100 card games and like you're gonna sell a bunch out of that.
Sure. So we'll have to see. Yeah, who knows? So it's not a complete failure, but
there's ways to do it, but yeah.
There's lessons learned, ways to do it, but lessons learned being like the kind of product that you're designing and developing. If you're able to in any way make it and design it so that the thing sells itself, it tells exactly what. So friend of mine designed and developed a shaker. You know those protein shaker bottles with the little spiral thing? He made small ones that were specifically designed to fit inside baby bottles and shake up and stir up formula. What has to be told to communicate its purpose in the advertising, really? Like next to nothing. Next to nothing. I look at it and I know it. A teether in the baby aisle, I know what it is. You don't have to tell me what it is. So something to be considered if you're able to somehow make your product sell itself in the sense that we know what the experience is going to be like when we interact with it without even having to yet. That will make it that much easier. Oh, dude, and you're talking about guerrilla stuff. I'll wrap up my thing and say you're talking about guerrilla going out there and advertising and stuff. Okay, all right. Like let me cue the music here because this is funny. I follow a guy named Dude Dad on social media. You follow Dude Dad? You know who Dude Dad is? Taylor Kalmus. Taylor Kalmus, one point, went out to a grocery store with his Hallmark style cards and he hid them inside of his local Target with a message inside of it saying, hey, this isn't a real Target product. This is from Dude Dad. Enjoy it. Have a happy Valentine's Day or something like that. And he posted it online and said, hey, go down to this Target over here and find our thing that we left there. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
That's brilliant.
And so I got a few decks and I waited for my wife to be out of town. I waited for her to be out of town because she happened to work at that Target at the time. She was in Arizona visiting. I was here in Minnesota. I went to the Target and I put them on the shelf in a spot. And I had a note on the back saying, hey, this isn't a real Target product. Enjoy it. All that stuff. Okay, issue being, it's one thing for you to sneak a card out of a Target and not look too suspicious. It's another thing to have a box of a game that you're suddenly having to walk out with. Yeah, so my wife caught wind of it because I posted a video of me talking about it. And I don't know how she caught wind somehow. I told her. I don't know. I felt guilty. Who knows? I went and I had to go and steal them back. I had to go to the Target and there was a few left on the shelf, only 2. So I had to go in there and I went and bought some other stuff and put them in my pockets and sneaked them back out. Posted a video about it. So we're talking about networking, putting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. I posted a video of it and I said, hey, I was trying to be as cool as Dude Dad and pull this off and it didn't work out in my favor. Tagged him on it. He ended up saying, hey, you're a product designer or whatever. And I sent him a deck because he said, oh, that's awesome. I got to have one. Mm-hmm. And then he said, oh, you're an industrial designer. I want to design and develop a 10 millimeter socket holder. And I need a custom injection molded part. Can you help me do that? And I was like, yeah. So I actually have done work for Dude Dad now. And the 10 millimeter sockets, that you can buy on his website, I designed, sourced, and custom did everything for him. And so there you go. Courtesy of The Variable. Enjoy, everybody. Dude Dad, it was good working with you.
Dude, that's super cool.
Funny story. But so I tried to go out there and do it, and I tried to, and so it's kind of eventually lose steam. Yeah. And could we bring it back up again? I don't know, but I'm putting a lot of time and effort into doing all this content, especially with you.
Yeah. So when you kind of started talking about that, it reminded me of kind of the whole is it Austin Kleon?
Powers?
What? No, not Austin Powers. Austin Kleon has a book called Steal Like an Artist. So I've got it hanging up on the wall back there, where he kind of talks about how creativity, so many new designers just feel this pressure and expectation that everything that they do has to just magically go poof from inside their brain, right? They just need to magically create creative things, and really what it's about is being inspired from other things that you see and bringing that in and kind of organizing it and making that fit your own style or building off of it or making that fit what your client wants to look at or what they need to see for their brand or whatever, right? So he also has a book called Show Your Work. And I think in creative work and design work especially, right? Say somebody wants to buy a logo. When they're going out shopping around for someone who can do their logo for them, being able to show your work helps you find the right client that you can do good work for, right? Because if you never show anybody what any of your logos look like, how the fire is anybody going to find you and think that guy's a good logo designer for the brand that I'm looking for, right? So the more you show your work and can show people what to expect when they purchase from you, the higher the likelihood that you can close a sale without having a super long educational sales cycle of, showing them all of this stuff, hands-on, right? So the more you can show your work, talk about your work, and show people what they're going to get for the money they spend with you, the easier chance you'll have at getting those sales and growing a business because people know what to expect from you. Right? If I'm I make videos and there's no video work anywhere that anybody can see that I have ever done, why would you hire me to make a video for you? Right. So that's hard for people who are pivoting, right? Like me, pivoting out of a mechanical engineering degree, show me some work that you've done. Well, here's a gun that I designed, or here's all this other stuff, but none of them are logos, right? So the more you can kind of have work to show of things you're trying to sell, the better off you'll be.
So this then brings up something that we talked about.
When you're going like this, I know you're gonna say something good.
I like that. Well, the music is,
that's
and
the
I'm
cue.
Like,
the music
good.
And then the cue.
That's good. I like that because it brings up something that we talked about just recently in a Clubhouse event, talking about doing free work. Now, I know that automatically just makes people cringe inside. But one of the things that was a key takeaway from our discussion that we had with Epic Light Media on the variable was that sometimes doing free work can be a tool. Now, we're not talking about, there's been circumstances where, I don't know, and this is another hot topic, I know, because there's been times where I know of big companies will have you do tryouts and have you do projects for free as part of the interview process. In order to get the job, you have to first prove yourself, which I don't know why your portfolio and other stuff doesn't do that enough, but they'll have you do
good companies
tests.
Will pay you for that, but yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think good companies do, but then there's also small mom and pop shops that, I personally have had this happen during interview process where they ask, hey, can you do some designs for us? We don't want you to spend they'll say, we don't want you to spend too long, but we want a 2-page spread of 5 different versions of whatever, and suddenly you've now ideated on the next line of product that they're going to release. And when you see it in the store, you're like, wait a second. And you don't get the job.
They didn't hire me and I gave them that.
They didn't hire me. Yeah. So that kind of a situation, like, be really leery of. And I don't like doing free work. And in the sense, I guess my point is I never do free work. Free by definition being I get nothing out of it. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're transitioning from one line of work to another, using free work as a tool can be in your favor. And what do I mean by that? If you're anxiously learning some new software and you've got some clients or potential clients that you'd like to do some work for, you can say, hey, listen, so you're trying to do media, you're trying to do video shoots or something, or if I'm trying to put together a sizzle reel, I've done this before where I've reached out to a company, I've said, hey, I want to do some more 3D visualization. We're just breaking into this space. I was wondering, do you have a product that is not under non-disclosure or anything like that you might be able to provide the CAD work for me? And I would like to just do a short animation. You don't owe me anything for it. I would like to just be able to showcase that I've done that kind of work and put it in my reel. And I think it's a win-win for you, because then you also are able to have something cool for this product that we've made the animation for. And most times if you do a good job out the back end, they'll say, I think we should give you a little something for this. So at least you're getting something. But the goal of you being, I'm stepping into some new space, I want to cut my teeth on this, and I want to add it to my portfolio, which will hopefully lead to more work. You're getting something out of that. But you may not be getting dollars and cents, but you're going to get something. So it's definitely worth. Real works turns into real work. So I just saw that go out there on the chat, and I was like, wait, what? Yeah. So doing stuff for free sometimes on behalf of people and just for the sake of being able to add it to your portfolio can be a strategic tactic and help you get your foot in the door, and sometimes open up doors that lead to bigger, more lucrative jobs, because you are able to prove yourself and they love what you do. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Are we on opposite ends of the spectrum and you're like, hell no, that's never going to happen, Russ? I'm never doing anything for free.
I think I would say, cue the music, right? But I would say,
okay, there we go.
I would say it absolutely. I just get so pumped when I hear that going. But I would say it absolutely depends, right? If you're if you're not working, then you need to be doing free work. Right. So whether that's you have a real job and you want to get into some side hustle area, but nobody's paying you to do that yet, then start doing some free work in that area. Right. And that will kind of help you break into that area. But if you are busy and you are already doing stuff and you're not trying to break into a new market, then yes, absolutely. Don't do free
Well, and it's got to be something that you're going to be proud enough to put in your portfolio. You know what I mean? Can I get this? If you're not really going into the business of making logos and somebody in your neighborhood wants you to make their free logo for them for their mom pop shop or something like that, I'll give you lots of exposure when we make it big. I'm like, nah,
exposure doesn't pay the bills.
Exposure doesn't. Oh, that was it costs that much because it takes me freaking hours, on TikTok. Exposure doesn't pay the bills. That's what I think. Yeah, we're keeping it G-rated here, folks. Or maybe PG-13 rated. We'll drop the F-bombs off of here. So anyhow, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
So one of the things kind of about free work, right? So you don't even have to reach out to companies, right? So you're talking about like, hey, I want to get into 3D visualization. Like, sure, if you want to be able to do that on like a company level, like certainly you're going to probably have to get CAD to do that. But say
Yeah.
you want to start making videos. You're like, I've done a few weddings for friends or whatever. Like, I like the process of video making. How do I monetize that? I don't think I want to work with brides all the time, which is my scenario. Like, no interest in doing wedding videos. Like, that's too much pressure for me, right? But
Don't
like,
blame
what
me
are
at
some other
all.
types of videos that I can make that can make me money, right? And
Sure.
turn that into a side business or a real business, right? In my case, a real business. What kind of videos can I make that are real business videos, right? So there's a handful of those, but like, say you want to get into making product videos. Every company out there in some way, shape, or form sells a product. It could be a virtual software product, it could be a hard goods product. They all need content, pictures, video to showcase that product and help them sell it to the world, right? So, one of the things I did like early on when I was still, side job working is I made a couple spec videos for this product right here. So, this is a range leather notebook. The company is out in Wyoming and they make handmade leather goods, right? So pretty cool. I like leather stuff. I bought my
Leather
first one
stuff's
of these and
awesome.
was like, oh, it smells so good. Here, I'll get real close. Oh, so like super cool product. I ended up buying one or two of
Just
these.
imagine
I have
the
a mini
audience that
one.
just
I mean,
tuned in.
they're like, what are these guys doing?
Welcome
Looks
to
like
Design Dab with a
Caleb just
variable in
jumped in.
Stoke.
So yeah. This is the creative dab. We are hanging out.
Dab.
Anyway, so I made this spec video, right? And like I just sent it to him and I was like, hey, check this out. I made this because I think your products are cool, right? The owner reaches out to me and he's like, hey, we'd love to, do some stuff with
Can we
you.
do
I didn't
more?
have bandwidth at the time. So I was just like, oh yeah, I kind of made that for fun. We'll circle back later. And I failed miserably on the execution of taking that lead and closing it, right? So that was a bummer. But like the moral of the story there is like if you want to do those types of videos or whatever you want to do, like just start doing it, whether it's free
Do it.
or you have a product in your house, you're like, okay, I've got this watch, how can I make a video out of it, make it cool, sell it, make it sellable, and then be able to showcase that to other watch brands or whatever to get more clients, right? So the more work you do, the more work you have to show, the more opportunity you have to get your work out in front of potential clients and get them interested and want what you have, right? If I say I make videos for brands, like brands are going to be like, cool story, bro. But if I'm like, I make videos for brands like this one, and it's like brand similar to their brand and like looks way cooler than anything they've ever done, they're like, holy freak, like I need that right now, So like if you can show, like people are not
Show
creative
it,
in
don't
general,
say
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can show people what your product will look like or what it will be, it's so much easier for them to make that decision on the spot to buy it.
Definitely. Well, hey man, we're straight up on the hour. Well, we've gone for
We're
just
over.
about an hour. We're over, but hey, I want to say it's been awesome chatting with you. Excited to see what we're able to do on a regular basis. All of you guys who are out there, if you tuned in and joined us, thank you for your support. We encourage you guys, if you got an opportunity, to hit that subscribe button and show your support to both of our channels as we both strive to grow and build our community. The Variable is a design community that's centered on mentorship and helping people along their path to creativity. And I know that Rex is in the same boat, trying to make waves and be awesome out there, creating brands, helping people be successful. So show your support. We appreciate you guys. And oh, there you go. He's got his subscribe animation thrown in there. We love it. Love it, bud. If any of you guys have any, you're more than welcome to reach out if you have questions. Young students who are tuning in, if you have questions and would like for a portfolio review, I think Rex brings a lot to the table, and I'm going to volunteer for him because I'm sure he'll say yes. If you reach out to either of us on LinkedIn or through social channels, and you're like, hey, can you check this out and tell me what your thoughts are? I can do it from the scope of an industrial designer lens. He's done product development as well, but even on the creative side, your overall presentation, are you saying it or are you showing it? We can help you know. And for those businesses that are out there that are looking to take their work up to another level, to communicate visually their branding, their products, like we're the dream team right here. We're happy to help you guys out. Feel free to reach out. My info is Russ at thevariable.design. Rex, why don't you spout out your info and then we'll wrap this up, bud.
Yeah, I am Rex at, let's see which one works the best. Rex at stokeyourbrand.com. You can reach me there or on LinkedIn. I don't pay too much attention to all of the other social channels. So if you Facebook message me, it might be a month before I get back to you. But yeah, right. So it's been way fun getting to be on here with
definitely, man.
Russ, not Shane. Hashtag Russ, not Shane.
Is that going to be a new thing for us? Russ, not Shane.
I look forward to doing more of these. Like I mentioned earlier on, I've been doing some streaming stuff, and it's kind of trickled off just because, like Russ was talking about, that fulfillment versus business dev stuff. So I've been so deep fulfilling that I've been letting it slip. So stoked to.
I think we're on the schedule for next Tuesday. Yeah, next Tuesday we should be here live. If you guys have specific questions or specific topics that you'd like for us to riff on, or if you'd like to jump on in here and participate, we can wire it up and direct message us a phone number and we'll pull you in on the audio this way, and you can riff with us. We'd love to do that. Anyhow, in the meantime, guys, here, let me get it one last time. In the meantime, guys, we wish you continued success in your respective endeavors, and we'll catch you around next time.